Take two, Dan. We're back here, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 69 of the Supplemental Talk podcast. Me and Dan just just did our whole intro before we noticed I didn't hit the live button. So this is why it's take two. Episode 69, 7:34 on the East Coast, 4 minutes late. I had a kind of a major change as to where I was recording this podcast episode. But hey, we're here on a bar stool set up against a cabinet. So a little cramped here. That's why I have to hold my microphone because I have nowhere to put it. So I'm holding my microphone tonight. That way we can get the best audio possible. I'm Harris Sereno. That's Dan Colley. And hey, it's Zachary Moss in the comments section. I also forgot, Dan, we're going to have some guests tonight. So I need to drop out and get actually, I can get the link right here. We're going to have some guests. We're going to put the link in the comment section on YouTube for people to join us. So, hey, if you're in the YouTube section or comment section, hey, click the link and we're going to let you come join you. But before we do, we got some segments to get to. We got some bowl games we're going to get to later in the night. And we will definitely take your feedback along with talking Georgia football. Of course, Dan, how are you doing this Tuesday night?
I'm doing well. We are in full-fledged bowl season here. And like I said before, which nobody heard, that's the downside to being a really successful Georgia football team is that we've got to wait forever to watch them play. But I guess in the end, that's what we bargained for, right? But bowl season is upon us. Football games are upon us. We will talk about that among some other topics. And like you said, we're going to have some guests tonight. That's going to be wild.
Yeah, it is going to be wild. Guys, let me go ahead and forewarn you. Let's keep the profanity to a minimum, as I commonly remind myself. Cannot swear. I think we have maybe like a one-time button you can hit to do it. And hey, bring some good audio, bring some good feedback. Cameras on. We want to see some faces. Because hey, for the audience at home that doesn't get to see, that it's watching on YouTube, they want to see faces as well. So with that being said, hot topic number one. Do you care if players opt out of bowl games, Dan? Dan, this is where we noticed we are live. So, hey, I haven't heard your answer. So go ahead, sir.
So I used to care. I used to think guys are quitters if they did that. And I took it personally when guys would opt out. But now, college has moved away from what we all know and love. And it has just become a full-fledged business. So now that is part of doing business is not participating in bowl games that don't matter. However, if you go back to the beginning of time, bowl games have never really mattered except for a handful of them. So nothing has changed in that regard except for just players are opting out. Now you do have situations like Bryce Young and Anderson down there at Alabama who said they're going to play. And there's a lot of guys. I mean, Derek Brown was a high draft pick out of Auburn. He played in this game. There's a bunch of but the cautionary tale would be, I believe his name is Javon Smith, or I don't know why I can't remember his name, but Smith, the linebacker, he was with your Cowboys for a while, but he was out of Notre Dame, and he was going to be the top 2 or 3 pick in the NFL draft and tore his ACL in the end zone in the game that did not matter. So I get both sides of it now. I've come around in that regard. I really wish the guys would play, but now I do understand why they don't, and I'm not as critical as I used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand both sides to it. Have a lot of respect for Bryce Young and Will Anderson. I thought for sure those two would opt out, but they didn't. They decided they wanted to go back, and I believe it was Bryce Young that said the other day he wanted to finish out the season he wanted to finish out the season with his teammates. So a lot of respect to those guys. I really do pray that neither of them get hurt. Like Dan said, this is life-changing money that is on the line come April in the NFL and the NFL draft. Going to be first-round picks, so they're going to make a lot of money. That's what comes with being a first-round pick. And like Dan said, the last time we had a player of the magnitude kind of similar to Will Anderson, Jalen Smith, played in a bowl game, got hurt. Hey, Matt Corral played in the bowl game for Ole Miss last year and got hurt. So things do happen. Accidents do happen. Injuries happen. And, that's the risk you take when you play in these bowl games if you're a first-round draft pick. So I really do think, the advice that everyone gets this year coming out or in not only this year, but years going forward and years passes, if you're a first-round pick, what are you playing for? So respect to them and shout out for them for playing.
Yeah, no. Also, to piggyback on that, like you have to understand, and I think this really put it in perspective for me, not an injury-related thing, but they were talking about the Todd McShay comments about Jalen Carter and if it were to make him drop. So let's just say that the argument was to say that he was going to go number 5, right? So if he slides to number 6, which is only one spot, okay, just one spot, costs him $3 million. If he slides to number 7, 2 slots, that's $6 million off of his guaranteed money. So you're talking about just sliding 2 spots can cost you $6 million. I probably won't make $6 million in my lifetime, period. And these guys could lose it in 40 or how many ever minutes of a football game. Like I said, I've come around. But hot topic number 2, and I'm going to read it because I want you to go first. Would you prefer to do your holiday shopping in a store so you can see everything, or would you prefer to do it online? Go.
It's tough. It depends on what I'm shopping for, Dan. If I'm shopping for clothes, definitely gonna have to do it in store. Get up to I can try some things on. But if I'm shopping for something else, maybe something that I don't have to try on or anything like that, then definitely do it online. It's easier to do it online. It saves a lot more time. But hey, if I had to pick between the two, I'd definitely say online because I'm efficient with my time, Dan. I don't like spending hours and hours on end in a store. I don't care what it is. I want to go in and I want to get out. I really don't care. I don't want to spend, that's just, maybe I'm just older than I am in that sense. I don't like spending hours on end in stores. I don't like shopping. I just go in, know what I want, get out. What do you say, Dan? Are you an online shopper? You a in-store shopper? I'm going to say, I'm guessing in-store because that's the old school thing to do. But I wouldn't be surprised if you're online.
All right. So, again, theme of the day for me apparently is changing my mind, right? So when I was younger, I didn't mind going to the store. I would be able to go to the store, go to the Mall of Georgia, walk through from one end to the other end, hit all the stores that interest me, grab all the stuff that I need, finish my Christmas shopping in one afternoon, get everybody taken care of, in and out, right? However, living near the Mall of Georgia, I hate this time of year now because everybody from around the freaking world comes to shop at the Mall of Georgia, and I can't get out of my damn neighborhood for 4 hours. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous. Traffic is everywhere. People act like idiots in stores. So I am 100% online shopping now because you can get what you want. You can get it shipped to your door. You don't have to go out and do it. And then you don't have to deal with the people. And I have come to the conclusion that I just hate people. And I can't stand to be around a bunch of people in the stores. And like the thing that always makes me that most angry about people shopping in stores is there are people who are in the store that have no intention of buying anything. It's like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Like when I go to the Georgia game, you go into the bookstore, there's 1 million people in the freaking bookstore that have no intentions of buying anything. They're not buying anything. They're just walking around in your damn way. And I'm like, I know what I want. I'm here to get it. I'm going to get in line. And then the line wraps around the store. So if I can get it online, have it shipped to my door, and I don't have to deal with that, my anxiety doesn't go through the roof. So I am 100% online shopper. And that wasn't even my rant.
And with that being said, Dan, it's time to get into the rant of the week. The transfer portal is running wild. And I texted you today, Dan. Kind of want to talk about the transfer portal. There's a lot of big news, obviously. Big name, Travis Hunter, former 5-star. Believe he was the number 1 overall player in last year's class, has now hit the portal from Jackson State. I don't think it shocked anyone, but he's now part of, I guess, what's the number, Dan, that you saw today of the number of players that are in the portal now?
I saw today that there were over 1,800 players in the portal. And this is a big deal. This is a really big deal. Like, first of all, let me start with the Travis Hunter thing. Everybody saw that coming. You can't the whole narrative that they were going to change HBCUs forever, that the shift was going to be monumental, that all the great black athletes were going to go to HBCUs and show anyway, the whole narrative around it was absolutely ridiculous. Nobody believed that for a second, except for a small select few people who believed that this was really going to happen. And they were like, oh yeah, all these other schools, they're not going to get the top black athletes now because he has changed everything forever and ever. Amen. Bull crap. It was all about the money. He got the bag from Barstool because Barstool supports Deion. Deion was there, whatever. Deion leaves, boom. 30 seconds after he left, bam, transfer portal in. And he's right to do it. I mean, he should have never been there in the first place because he is a monumental talent. He deserved to be at one of the biggest schools. And now he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to follow Deion to Colorado. That would be my guess as to what he's going to do, is follow Deion to Colorado. I think they're using Georgia as a leverage point to say that they out-recruited Georgia, which I don't think anybody in the world in their right mind is going to actually believe that. But whatever they want to do, that's fine. But the transfer portal, 1,800 kids. And when the transfer portal first became a thing, I kind of thought, hey, this is a good thing, right? It gives players some mobility, gives them some freedom, and it is transformed to something that I think is going to destroy college football. Imagine if every NFL team players could just decide they don't want to play here anymore and go play wherever they wanted to. It would ruin the league. It would absolutely ruin the league. The reason that so many people love the NFL is because of the parity. Any given Sunday, any team can win because every team has NFL players on it. Every so often, you have a team that's just absolutely dregs. But within a year of getting the right people in place, they can completely transform their roster. They can draft the right players. They can rebuild. Especially if you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, you can build it up, right? So the NFL has figured that out. Like player mobility is a thing, but it takes time to get there. You can't just opt out after your first year and move. I understand why it's in place. However, you have coaches and programs and boosters and people calling people that are on active rosters who are not in the transfer portal, telling them to get into the transfer portal so they can go to the XYZ school. And what is really hurting, and I didn't understand this part until I saw it firsthand. It's killing the high school kids. It's absolutely killing the high school kids. You have these smaller teams now who are recruiting higher profile players out of the portal and putting them on the roster so they could be successful. And they're not recruiting the high school kids. Now, like Georgia's going to go get the best high school kids, right? Alabama's still going to go get the high school kids, but Western Carolina is not. North Texas, they're not. Furman, they're not. They're shopping the portal. They're trying to get these guys. And what's ended up happening is you have really quality high school players that don't have any offers, or you have a guy who might be a small D1 school or a 1AA player or a Division II, and they're like their best offer they can get is a D3 school. Now, listen, I've told kids to their face, I'm like, hey, the goal of playing athletics in college is not to go to the NFL. I mean, for some people it is, but for the most part, it should be using your talent to get somebody to pay for your education. So even if it's a D3 school, if they can cover it, give you a financial package to pay for everything, then you used your talent in the right way. It's not impossible to make it to the NFL from a small school. And of course, with the transfer portal, you can go have a good year or two and then transfer up to a bigger school. I guess that's still a play. But it's really killing these high school kids. And then the automatic year that they gave everybody, the COVID year, and Oregon has a player, and I retweeted this a couple days ago, that I don't ever want to hear another thing about Stetson, that there is a player on Oregon who has just been granted his 9th year of eligibility. What in the hell are we doing? There's no way, shape, or form somebody should be playing college football for 9 years. The transfer portal is out of control. I have gone 180 on this topic. I am totally against it now. This is absolutely ridiculous, and it's ruining the game of college football. Now, I may be alone in this opinion. There may be people who absolutely love it, but I have turned on the portal. It makes me sick, and these kids, they've got it in their mind they don't have to compete for nothing. If they're not given what they want right away, bam, transfer portal, gone. And you know what? I don't even feel sorry for all the kids that don't get an opportunity because they have bad advice and jump to the transfer portal. Nobody picks them up. That's on you, bro. I mean, like, stay and compete. I don't know. I could go on and on, Harrison. I need you to jump in here and save me because I'm about to get ugly on it.
It's a very interesting world we live in today in college football. Like, everyone can go transfer out of their current school at any time of the year. Anytime a kid puts out a tweet that seems, off base or questionable, everyone goes, oh, well, he's in the portal. I saw it today or last night. A Georgia player put out a tweet, and all of a sudden you scroll. Yeah, just all of a sudden everyone's saying, transfer portal, and begging them to say it. It's like, kids are going to make their own decisions. He could put out a tweet that's not even in relation to what, college or football altogether. So interesting. The Travis Hunter news, it's also interesting. It's all the buzz around Travis Hunter right now. It's Colorado and Georgia. You got everybody put it out on Twitter that Georgia and Travis Hunter are serious, and we'll see.
I do want to remind you.
Yeah, USC's in there, and that's no surprise. I do want to remind people when Caleb Williams entered the transfer portal after OU, there were names being put out about Caleb Williams, where he's going to go. Kind of, it seemed to me like it was, kind of hiding the fact that everyone and their mom knew he was going to USC. And in the end, where did he go? He's going to USC to follow his coach. Now, I'm not going to say there's tampering or anything like that. With the transfer portal, let the kid go where he wants to go. If he wants to follow his head coach, let him follow his head coach. No problem with that. So it is getting crazy. And like Dan said, there is a Oregon tight end that's going to play his 9th year of college football. And we got people talking about Stetson Bennett playing for how many years he's played. So you're taking, ultimately, the NCAA is taking away opportunities from high school players, as Dan said. And it's sad. There's going to be kids that won't be able to live out their dream because you have a 27, 28-year-old player playing college football when he should be moving on to the next opportunity. So with that being said, guys.
If that's the case, I'm going to see if I have any eligibility left. Shit, I didn't play 8 years.
So with that being said, guys, the link to the call-in that we've all been waiting for is coming. And the whole segment of what we're talking about next is going to be Georgia's biggest needs this offseason. Obviously, with the transfer portal out there, Georgia can go and dip into the portal if they want and go find their needs, go fill their needs. Obviously, they're going to take a really big recruiting class, as they always do. Georgia's not one of these programs to go into the high school and say, we're going to take 11 kids and then we're going to fill our roster with transfer portal. We're just going to infuse the program with transfers. That's not Georgia's way of doing things. They're going to take high school players, they're going to develop them into NFL players, and they're going to go on and redo it again. And when they have holes that they can't fill through high school, they go to the portal. That's the right way to do it. That's the way it's always been done. Well, not necessarily with the portal, because the portal's kind of new. But with that being said, guys, Georgia's biggest needs this offseason. Come join the show if you're on YouTube. Link is in the comment section. So, hey, we'll see. First come, first serve. You'll be up first. We're doing one at a time, and we'll see where it takes us. Dan, we do want your take. Dan, what is Georgia's biggest need this offseason?
Georgia's biggest need this offseason, possibly a corner. I know we have a lot of really talented young corners. You can really never have enough secondary guys. We saw how many guys we went through this year in the secondary. Maybe an elite back. I mean, if there's an elite back floating around out there, but I think the answer is wide receiver. It has to be wide receiver. That's why somebody like Travis Hunter fits the bill like 100% because he can do anything. He can play DB. He can play wide receiver. He can return kicks. He can do whatever. I mean, I don't know if it's a realistic thing for Travis Hunter to join Georgia, but he is a player that fits the profile of everything that Georgia would want and need. So I'm going to go with wide receiver. But like I said, like an elite back, I think if there was an elite back available, you would not be doing your due diligence not to check in. Hey, let's go. We've got our first participant, Rudes.
Rudes, you are muted, bud. Welcome on to the Top podcast. Rudes, what's your take, man? What do you want to see? What's Georgia's biggest need this offseason? He can't hear us.
You're muted, Rudes.
Nothing? Here, we'll let Rudes figure that out. In the meantime, yeah, Dan, I think receivers definitely a big need. Trying to get maybe an X. I know they've been dealing with injuries to Adonai Mitchell for, really ever since the Sanford game. And they even said, there he is. He's back.
There he is. Can you hear us now, Rudes?
They even said, there he is. He's back.
Oh. Hey guys, sorry that's taking a little longer. There seems to be a backlog, but I can't hear you from my phone.
Can't hear us from your phone. Well, Rudes, let's get your take on the portal. What's Georgia's biggest need?
I think the biggest need right now is obviously going to be that edge room. There's a lot going on. And we thought it was going to be, a strength for us early in the year with all the talent that we had. But it seems to be a little bit of a weakness right now. So I think they're really going to go out there and see, especially with the talented edge rushers that we've had, we need someone that's going to come in and be able to make an impact soon.
Dan, what do you say?
No, I agree. I mean, if you're able to land a top flight edge rusher to come into this class to have an immediate immediate impact on this football team. I 100% agree with you, Rudes. That's a good call by you.
With that, we have another guest here. Dan, we're bringing him in. Zachary Moss in the comment section. Bud said he's at work, so we're going to be brief with this. Zach, what is Georgia's biggest need through the portal? I don't know.
You got it, Zach? Oh, we are having issues tonight, huh? Can you hear us, Zach? No.
As we deal with some technical difficulties, Zach, if you go into your settings on the bottom, it should tell you how to connect your audio. But yeah, I think edge rusher Ruiz brings up a great point. I think edge rusher is definitely the way to go. It is one of probably the biggest needs, and Georgia's has limited depth when it comes to edge rusher at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see what they get. Throughout this transfer portal season, they're going to have a lot of opportunities to get some players, and I do think edge is definitely something they're going to want to look into, because that room is running short of depth. I mean, you had a lot of attrition in the last few years just with the NFL draft, and I mean, obviously players transferring out. I don't remember if Georgia's had somebody transfer out at outside backer. I know Jermaine Johnson was probably the last one to do it, but I mean, hey, you lose Nolan Smith and the NFL draft, and you've lost him for the whole season due to that shoulder injury, and you're hurting right now because Marvin Jones Jr. I think they said I saw a report that he got hurt, and you're wondering who's next up after Marvin Jones Jr. So I definitely do think outside backer and that edge rushing position is definitely going to be key. As I almost flipped my laptop over, that's not good. But hey, Zach is back. Zach, what do you have to say, man?
Can you hear us, Zach?
I can't really, everything's kind of it's chopping up, the audio is, but I kind of agree with Dan. The only thing we really need is probably a defense back and maybe an extra offensive lineman. So other than that, I can't stay too long, guys. I got to go get back to work, but I'll definitely be listening. So it's good talking to y'all. It's good seeing y'all too. So, hey, what's up?
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate you jumping in, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, DB, and the only reason I said DB is just because you can never have enough, right? But then wide receiver would be my other one. And then, edge rusher, that's a good one by Ruse. But, I think with Kirby at the edge rusher position, it's going to have to be a certain person. I don't know. There's a lot, like you said. Let's go through the list right here. So you're losing an extra, can you find an ex receiver? And part of this too, Harrison, is you don't want to upset the apple cart, right? Like
Absolutely.
Kirby did a great job this year of using his in-house talent to rebuild and reload for this season. And, part of that is it shows loyalty to your program and shows your guys that I believe in the guys. Now, honestly, going into the transfer portal, you're going to have to do it at some points if you want to remain competitive. Like Clemson refused to do it. And where are they, right? And Clemson has recruited at a high enough level that you don't think it should be that big of an issue, that they should be able to reload and just repackage and go. But they were not going into the transfer portal, and they've fallen behind. Alabama, on the other hand, didn't really dabble in the transfer portal. And then this year they went heavy into the transfer portal. And I don't know that they had the cohesion or the just the unity on that team. You saw unbelievable talent everywhere, but in some games it just didn't really play that well together. Now, I will tell you, Jahmyr Gibbs being the running back there was a godsend for them because he was, I don't know how many Alabama games you watched, Harrison, but the games that I did watch, especially towards the back half of the season, once he kind of really got rolling, he carried that football team. So if Georgia was able to, I know it's not real, and I'm just throwing this out there, Harrison. So I'm just play along. Like let's just say that like Bijan Robinson was in the transfer portal. If that was something that were to happen, then you have to jump on a player like that. That's a zero. It takes zero effort or zero brain power to understand that if a guy like Bijan Robinson's in the transfer portal, you call him, okay? Because he's that type of player.
Absolutely, and he would make your room better. And I think there's definitely going to be some questions as to, Marshawn Lloyd, the running back at South Carolina. I believe their leading back and rushing stats has entered the transfer portal. Shockingly, I didn't see that coming. And you see some Georgia fans saying, "Hey, Kenny McIntosh going to the league, Kendall Milton kind of up in the air. Does Georgia give him a call? Your running back room. I know you're bringing in Roderick Robinson, or am I just jacked up that last name? And
No, it's Roger Robinson.
It is? Okay. Bet. Let's go. And you're looking for a second back. And I know there's some whispers about maybe getting one more, somebody who just decommitted. You just go look on Twitter and you can find it.
You can say his name. It's fine. Who are you talking about? The kid from Louisville?
Kyron Jones is the one being, mentioned as somebody that Georgia might take. I know.
Is he a running back?
Yeah, he's a running back. He just decommitted from, I believe it was NC State or I don't even know. But he has Georgia Twitter going wild because Georgia needs a second back, and I think maybe it happens.
I can't remember if it was Rusty Mansell or Roddy Nabolsi. One of the two basically said that he's coming to Georgia. So I'm on board. I mean, yeah. And if you're Kendall Milton with his injury issues that he's had, and now none of them have been significant, and they're not like Zamir White, right? He's been dinged up, and running backs have a short shelf life, and they have tread on the tires. And if you're Kendall Milton and you are getting, if the information coming back from the NFL is that you're going to be a top three round pick, if you're Kendall Milton, you have to go. Like, there's no ill will coming from Dan Kiley. I promise you that. Like, and I'm not wishing him out the door. Please don't twist my words. I'm not wishing Kendall Milton out the door. But if Kendall Milton's getting feedback from the NFL that he'll be a top 3 pick, you've got to go because your shelf life is so short and you're always one play away from a devastating injury. I mean, look at Zamir White. I mean, he had 2 torn ACLs, one in high school, one in college, and it really set his career back. And look at Marshawn Lattimore up at South Carolina. That is the most cautionary tale of all time. And because they ran him into the ground. And Leonard Fournette down at LSU, he's never been the same player that he was those first couple of years at LSU. So if you're a running back and you have a chance to go, you have to go. So that's why I'm saying running back. That's why I brought it up, is because if you have an opportunity to get an elite back, you might actually need one. Now, granted, running back is that position where you can count on a freshman to be extremely productive, as opposed to some other positions. So I wouldn't mind if Georgia picked up a back in the portal. I don't know if we're going to need it. I mean, like you said, Roderick Robertson, if the kid from NC State comes down here, the kid from Louisville, did he end up going to Texas A&M?
I want to say Ruben Owens flipped at A&M, but I'm not sure on that. I know if he hasn't already, then it seems like it is going to happen. I'm
over
don't
the
know.
Texas A&M crap. I mean, that's just,
we'll have to get into that in the offseason. But with that being said, let's move on to our bowl season picks, Dan. We got some really good bowl games. 6 bowl games. 3 of us, both of us have picked 3 bowl games that we liked and want to talk about them just for a little bit and why we're kind of interested with them. So, Dan, first up, what is your first pick?
All right, so my first pick of a bowl game that I'm interested in, and these are for me. I didn't pick any New Year's Six bowls because I believe I'm probably going to watch all of those. These are games in the mix that I'm probably going to pay a little bit of attention to. The first one is the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Terrible name for a bowl. Sorry, Guaranteed Rate. Don't mean to diss you. But it's Wisconsin versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State had a really good season this year. Wisconsin did not have a great season this year, so much so that they got rid of their coach. And I don't remember who they hired as their new head coach, but it's irrelevant. The reason I'm going to watch it is because Jim Leonard is going to coach that football game as the interim head coach, and then he's going to leave the program. And I think that is a huge miss by Wisconsin. I think Jim Leonard should have been given an opportunity to coach the football team. I think he's a really good football coach. I don't know if he's going to be a great head coach. Who knows? But I'm a little bit disappointed in that they're allowing him to leave the program. I mean, it'd be like letting Kirby leave the program. I mean, it's like he's your guy. He's from, I mean, look at Northwestern. They hired Fitzgerald. Or now, what's his name? The head coach of Northwestern. He's been there forever.
It's Pat Fitzgerald. Yeah.
Pat Fitzgerald. So he is a Northwestern former player. He bleeds purple. It means more to him to be there. He puts more effort in, and I think Jim Leonard would have gave you the same energy at Wisconsin. So I'm very disappointed that they did not give him the opportunity, or at least paid him enough to stay on the staff. I think it's a disappointment. So the reason I'm going to watch that game is I want to see Jim Leonard coach that Wisconsin team. I think there's going to be a lot of energy. I think there's going to be a lot of passion. I think at the end of the game, there's going to be a lot of tears, whether they win or lose, by Jim Leonard, because I know it's got to be extremely painful to leave a place you love that much. So what's your first pick?
Just to go off that real quick, I did like the Luke Fickell hire up at Wisconsin. I think Luke Fickell's
that's right. That's right.
Job. He's in Big Ten country. He's from Big Ten country. I know he's a Buckeye at heart. I think he's doing a great job. Like you said, though, letting Jim Leonard go, that sucks, man. That's like, like you said, that's like Nick Saban letting Kirby Smart go from Alabama, before he even got a head coaching job. So it's a really good comparison there. It sucks, but hey, somebody out there, whether he's going to go for a head coach job or a defensive coordinating job, going to get a really damn good coach at the end of things because, he wasn't retained.
Luke Fickell is an amazing hire by them. And so I'm not admonishing them for hiring Luke Fickell. I think that's probably as good a coach as you could possibly get. I think
Wisconsin.
I think they should have done better and kept him there somehow, some way. But maybe he said, if I'm not the head coach, I'm leaving. There's nothing he can do. I don't know. So what's your first pick?
First pick is it's an interesting one, Dan. Now, if one team had their quarterback, it would be even better. AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Kansas, started out the season, I believe they're undefeated, if I remember correctly. They had an amazing run, and then their quarterback got hurt, and it kind of fell apart. But hey, Kansas is bowl eligible for the first time since I don't know when. I literally don't know when the last time Kansas was bowl eligible. I want to say when it was I forget, was it Mangini was the name of the coach when they went to the Orange Bowl? I forget what it was, but an incredible run then. So, and now they're bowl eligible again. They're playing Arkansas. 6-6 Arkansas versus 6-6 Kansas. Two middle of the road teams when it comes to their conferences. Arkansas, disappointing year for Arkansas. Very disappointing year. I thought they were going to have a better year. Even Dan thought they were going to have a better year. Dan, I believe you had them finishing second in the West. I think I had them around the same. I believe it's third or fourth. Didn't play up to their standards, but hey, the SEC West, a lot of the teams in the SEC West, including Alabama, did not play up to their standards. The only one that really played above their standards was LSU. I really like this matchup, Dan. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Arkansas takes this one home. I don't know what the spread is. I didn't look at the spread. I don't care for the spread. But, hey, I think Arkansas takes this one home. I don't know if KJ Jefferson's going to play, but if he is, when you look at the two rosters, I think KJ Jefferson's the game breaker that Kansas does not have.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. If you look at the rosters, Arkansas is going to have a talent advantage. They should. They're an SEC team, and that's why everybody thought so high of them, because they did have a lot of talent on that roster. And I think it partially because you and I both really like Sam Pittman. So I'm sure that played into it. So my second pick of a bowl game I'm going to be interested in is the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl. Could you have a longer name than that?
I was about to say, Dan.
So that is Oregon versus North Carolina. Two teams who don't play any defense at all. Should be an extremely high-scoring game. I don't think Josh Downs is going to play in that game. I don't know if he is or isn't. I haven't seen one way or another. My assumption would be he's not going to play, but you are going to have Drake May playing because he's coming back next year, so it doesn't make any sense to sit out the bowl game. And then you're also going to have Bo Nix, who's coming back for one more year. He'll play for Oregon. So I think this will be a highly entertaining game. It should be extremely high scoring with defense optional. So if that is your T, if you really like watching a team play and just score at a rapid rate, now watch this game be like 7-6. I mean, good heavens. But it should, on paper, be a really high scoring game, really entertaining to watch. When I don't have teams involved, that I just want to watch a football game, I want to see up and down scoring at a hyperbolic pace, because I don't have anything invested in the game other than I just like to see massive plays being made and points being put up on the board. So on paper, this should be a highly entertaining game, one of the most entertaining games in the non-New Year's Six bowls. At least I'm hoping it will be, and that's why I picked that game, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Excellent pick. I really did like this game, especially when you add in the fact that Oregon lost really good linebacker Justin Flo, former 5-star. Injuries has killed his career and hits the transfer portal, goes to Arizona. Carolina, anybody who is anybody at Carolina other than Drake May has entered the portal or is declared for the draft. Carolina's going to have a lot of players that were on scholarship that are not playing in that game. Going to be interesting to see how they fare against Oregon, who I think Oregon's roster is probably in a much better shape than North Carolina. And I believe Oregon has a lot better talent than North Carolina. But hey, it's bowl season. Anything can happen at any given time. Jeremiah Stoddard with the comment there. And for my second pick, Dan, this is a good one. I think it's one that's going to fly under the radar. Let me put my hat on, my Pit Vipers on, Dan, because I'm going to the Tax Slayer Bowl. Notre Dame versus South Carolina. South Carolina has pulled some upsets this year, especially late. They pulled some upsets. Clemson, Tennessee, 2 big upsets. Dan, I'm really invested in this game. I know South Carolina's lost their best running back. I believe they've lost some others to maybe the NFL draft, if I'm not mistaken. Spencer Rattler, though, is going to play in this game. And I did see it. Shout out to Evan Crowell because he put out on Twitter today. I saw it. They've had 3 tight ends into the transfer portal. 3 tight ends into the transfer portal, that is for South Carolina, including Austin Stogner, the one they got from Oklahoma, transferred in with Rattler. He's going back to Oklahoma now. I'm really interested in this game. There was a lot of smoke on social media after Brock Bowers won the Mackey Award, and it was because of, what's his name? Michael Myers?
Michael Mayer.
Mayer. Sorry. Michael Myers. Good God. I hope that doesn't haunt us tonight. But hey, really good tight end, a first-round tight end. I don't know if he's going to play. I haven't seen yet. To me, it doesn't seem in the Notre Dame way or the Notre Dame tradition and culture to opt out of a bowl game.
So, whenever Brock Bowers won the Mackey Award for the best tight end, there were a lot of back and forth, and I know Jonathan was laughing because he had all the Notre Dame fans in his mentions. But both things can be true. Brock Bowers is the best player in the country with the title tight end next to his name, and Michael Mayer is the best tight end in the country. So both things are true, except for Brock Bowers is just a unicorn. He's labeled a tight end, so therefore he's the best tight end in college football, but he's not your traditional tight end. He's not your end-of-the-line, straight-line blocker tight end. Michael Mayer can do both. Extremely productive player. I hope he plays in the game because he's a really, really talented player, and I like to watch him play. But to say that Michael Mayer is a fantastic player is not a slight at Brock Bowers. I mean, Brock Bowers won the Mackey, and he deserved to do so. But both things can be true. So my third and final pick, and breaking news, there's 2 bowls that are sponsored by CheezIt. CheezIt has 2 separate bowls, but the CheezIt Bowl, the one that I picked, was Oklahoma versus Florida State. And the reason I picked this game is because it is a tale of 2 seasons. You have Oklahoma, who is on a downward spiral, and they had a terrible football season. And then you have Florida State, who came up and had a much better football season than a lot of people anticipated after that first game against LSU, there was some hype or whatever. But, Florida State was kind of getting pooped on a lot by a lot of different people. And they ended up playing, I don't know what their record is because you didn't give me the record, but they ended up having a pretty good season. So it's a tale of 2 seasons. Florida State is kind of happy where they are, and Oklahoma is probably very disappointed where they are. And usually what happens in bowl games like that is the team that's happy to be where they are plays really great, and the other team plays like crap because they don't even want to be there. And so I kind of hope Florida State beats the hell out of them, and that'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Florida State's 9-3, Dan. I just looked it up. 9-3. They're about to have if they win this game, they're going to have a 10-win season for the first time since, probably since Jimbo was there. Maybe not. Sometime when Jimbo was there. They're going to have a 10-win season if they win this game. Big game on the line. Mike Norvell kind of came into the season somebody everyone's looking at as to someone who may have been on the hot seat. But hey, he just took himself right off that hot seat. Just right off that hot seat. Had a 9-win season. Might be 10 by the end of it, but hey, like Dan said, Oklahoma, it's downward spiral. Florida State, stock rising. Going to be interested to see how they play over the next coming years. I think Mike Norvell has that train turned around. And hey, I think Mike Norvell, let's go on and say it, probably going to end up being one of the best coaches in the state of Florida. I mean, now in the power rankings, he'd be number 1 in my opinion.
Before you get to your next game, just think about what has happened, right? Mike Norvell, a lot of people thought that Florida State was going to have a crap year, and they were going to get rid of him. I feel like, and then who makes perfect sense to come in and coach the Florida State, which would be Deion Sanders. And I think Dion felt like that's where he was going to end up, right? And Travis Hunter went with Dion, and I guarantee you that conversation was like, bro, that guy over there at Florida State is going to bomb, and we're both going to go over there. That's where you want to go anyway, and that's where I want to be. We're going to be a package deal. We're going to come here, kick butt at JSU, and then haul butt over to the Seminole country and down there in Tallahassee and whoop some butt. But Mike Norvell, the ultimate changeup, just completely screwed that whole thing up. And imagine if he has a terrible year next year. Oh my God, those Florida State people are like, no, why did you have to do that? Anyway, what is your last
Dion
pick?
has a good year. It would be a disaster. My last pick, it was a tough one because my first two picks had an SEC team in both. So I decided, hey, I need to go out of my way to make sure I don't have an SEC team in this last one. So I went with the Valero Alamo Bowl. Always produces some good games. Always does. Alamo Bowl, 8-4 Texas versus 10-2 Washington. Dan, I just have a hunch, even though Bijan Robinson's not playing in this game, I just have a hunch that the Pac-12 team is going to lay an egg. Pac-12 teams always seem to lay an egg when it matters most. This game is going to matter to both programs. I think it's going to matter a little bit more to Texas than it does Washington. But I just got that itch, Dan. They're going to lay an egg. So I'm taking Texas in this game. But, hey, it's going to be by fine margins.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, because Texas tried to tell everybody they were back, and now they've got this great recruiting class and all this other stuff. And I mean, you go 8-4 at Texas, you really shouldn't be going 8-4. But I mean, to your point, Pac-10 teams, who knows? I mean, it's a crapshoot. So, I mean, if you say Texas is going to win the game, I believe you. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on Texas because Texas is just an afterthought to me. I mean, I don't hate them like I hate Texas A&M. I don't hate Texas A&M. I don't even hate the school. I just hate Jimbo Fisher. I can't stand that freaking guy. So, all right, go ahead.
All right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today's episode. Next week, it's time, ladies and gentlemen. Next Tuesday, 7:30, same place, same time. Talking Georgia versus LSU. We've put it, or Georgia versus Ohio State. Excuse me. Gosh, I'm still living weeks in the past. We put it off for long enough. We've gotten creative. We talked about some other things from week to week. Hopefully, I don't have to hold my microphone for 45 minutes like I'm a sideline reporter next week. But hey, we're gonna go with the flow, roll with the punches. And with that being said, guys, episode 70 of the Top podcast is coming up next week. We appreciate those that came on, Zach and Rudes. Appreciate y'all. Really good segment to just get where everybody's feeling was, where the needs were and all that. And Zach, hey, you didn't talk over us, man. You just came on here, gave us your thoughts, and got back to what you're doing, man. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you back next week, 7:30 on Tuesday. For that, with that being said, make sure to follow Dan Kiley at Dan Kiley if you're on Twitter. Follow me at Harrison Reno. Guys, it's going to be game week next week. It's going to be a big game. We haven't seen Dan Kiley on a game week since week leading up to LSU. So, hey, with that being said, Dan, have a very Merry Christmas. And, hey, let's have a Happy New Year, bud.
Merry Christmas and go Dogs.